What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today we are taking a step back in the time machine. We are going back 1 year. 1 year ago. Not necessarily to the date, but last December, I made a video laying out the top 10 cards and comic books I was chasing in 2022. Today, we are going to quickly move through that list and see which ones I got, if any, which ones I didn't get and why. And I think when I made this video last year, I encourage all of you to either, you don't have a YouTube channel, record something on your phone, write it down on a list, wherever you could put it that you won't lose it, and do something similar. So you kind of have it top of mind, like these were the things I wanted and why. And some of these things have fallen off my list as we move throughout the year and kind of like what I wanted kind of shifted and changed. And this stuff wasn't to flip, really. This was all stuff that I wanted in my collection because I either liked the player, the book, had some personal tie to it, whatever the case might be. That's where all this stuff came from. I will be doing this list again. I'm not sure when. I'll probably put it up like between Christmas and New Year's or something like that. But I will be doing this list again or early January for the upcoming 2023 year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in and see how I did checking things off my list. We're not going to play through this, but I'm just going to use this to scrub forward to get to each individual card. So first up, we have LeBron 2007 Topps Chrome Refractor. Now, one of the things that I kind of got into late in 2021 was chasing the LeBron Topps Chrome Refractors, mostly in PSA 9s. I had the Chalk Toss at the time, and I had the second year at the time. The two key ones that I was missing was the 07, which was this one on the list. I did not end up acquiring this card. It is still on my list. I don't know that it's going to be in my top 10. If I could trade into one, if prices continue to come down, I think right now a PSA 9 of these is doing around $800. I always thought this was one of the better images on the Topps Chrome Refractors. This is really the last key one that I'm missing because I have the second year, I do have the Chalk Toss, and I have, spoilers, the one we're going to talk about next. I never got around to getting this one, and prices have come down on them quite a bit. Like I said, this one is probably on a list, but it's probably going to not make my top 10 for this upcoming year. There'll be a different LeBron card on there, but we'll talk about that whenever we get to that video. The second one on my list was another LeBron refractor, and I did actually acquire this one. This one is numbered out of 499, I believe. One of the more harder ones to find and one of the more expensive ones. Iconic dunk from the Eastern Conference Finals against the Detroit Pistons. I picked this up a couple months after making this video in Atlanta. At the Atlanta card show, I ran across this card in a BGS 8.5. And I purchased it for, I believe, $1,500. The card has obviously gone down since then. But it's still in my collection. Once again, I did not buy. The stuff on this list was not bought to flip. So this one, success. So we are 1 for 2 so far on this list. Next up, Jim Brown rookie card. I said in this video, I think this is the year I'm going to knock this one off the list. And funny enough, I knocked it off twice, as I now own 2 Jim Brown rookie cards, both in SGC 3s. Both of them were acquired for trade plus cash. The first one I picked up at the 101 trade night over the summer. So it took about a good 6 months. I moved a Juan Soto pink refractor PSA 10 and some cash for that card. And then the second one I acquired at the National in a deal where I gave up a Baker Mayfield and cash for the second SGC 310 or SGC 3 rather. In both cases, the cards I think were valued at around $1,500 at the time that I've acquired them. They have come down since I acquired both of them. SGC 3s right now vary between like the low 900s and 1100 to 1200, depending on how it looks. The centering is bad on both of mine, but the color is really, really good. And the corners and crispness of the card are both really, really good on both copies that I have. So next up, as you can see on the screen here, we have the Juan Soto first Bowman auto. I came close to picking one of these up at the Midwest Monster. I never ended up snagging one of these. Prices have come down quite a bit. I still wouldn't mind one of these at some point in time. I don't know that this will make the list for top 10 next year for 2023, but I still really, really like Juan Soto as a player. I did manage to pick up a Bowman's Best rookie auto, so I do have a Soto rookie auto in my collection, a PSA 10. But I do not have a first Bowman. I still believe in Soto the player. He's had a fantastic career already for the limited time that he's been in the league. And I would still like to pick one of these cards up at some point. This is another one I would love to trade for this if possible. It would be tricky to do depending on what I'd have to give up. But putting out $1,500 for BGS 95, I don't know if it's something I'm going to do right now. If it came a little bit cheaper, maybe shoot for a PSA 9 or something. But I'm pretty picky about cash and cards at the moment. I would much rather trade into something than buy something when it comes to the singles market. Next up, comic book. X-Men number 50. Absolutely classic cover. That's pretty much what you're going for here. This is the second appearance of Polaris, so it's not a key in regards to first appearances, but it is one of the most iconic X-Men covers, and it is the first X-Men cover with the block lettering. That is kind of the key thing to this book. Anyone that is building any sort of X-Men collection, you probably have to own this, and I do. I picked one up late in the summer on Instagram. I have this in a CGC 8.0, which I'm very happy with. It presents very well. It's a little higher on the census curve, and I am perfectly good with that. I really just wanted this book that presented really well in a pretty decent grade. It didn't have to be like a 9-something. I actually wanted to go a little bit lower to save a little bit of money on it. I think I got this for $800, maybe $900. I think it's come down slightly, but I bought this late enough in the year that a lot of the value had kind of come out of it already. So did end up picking up this one. So that was good. Knocked that one off the list. Next up, another book, X-Men 266. Readily available, not hard to find. But it was one that I did not own, and it was just a matter of I wanted to wait, and you know, if one fell into my lap, I would go ahead and snag it. And another one that I ended up acquiring. I picked one of these up at Charlotte Comic Con, at Heroes Con, in the middle of the summer. I think I paid $800 for it, which actually I think it still kind of goes for around that price. I haven't checked recently, but I paid $800 cash for this at Charlotte Comic Con. It was one of the books on my radar to get there. Because they are so readily transacted, there's pretty good market data for what this book should cost. So there's not really a lot of wiggle negotiation room both ways. Like, dealers don't typically price this book very, like, over comps very often because everyone knows what this book sells for. They sell every day, all day. And it's a classic modern X-Men book. You definitely want it in a 9.8 if you're going to chase one, because there's a ton of them on the CGC census. But Gambit is one of the most popular X-Men characters, and once again, if you're building an X-Men collection like I am, it is definitely a book that you want to have in it, so I was glad to just finally knock this one off the list. It's kind of one of those ones, it's like, oh, no, you keep putting it off. Nah, I'll get that later, because you can always find one, and I just decided to finally knock that one off the list. So that one is done and gone. Next up, X-Men number 14, the first appearance of the Sentinels. I absolutely love the Sentinels. They are one of my favorite X-Men villains. Probably my favorite true villain. Magneto is probably number one, but I don't always, he's been on the team sometimes, so he's kind of not really a true villain. He's almost like an anti-hero at this point. So true X-Men villain, never been a good guy, never been on their side. Sentinels are one of my favorite villains. I think a lot of that comes back to the cartoon, and I just always loved whenever the X-Men fought Sentinels. I don't know what it was. I just freaking adored it. I've always wanted this book in a first appearance. I picked this up in a CGC 6.5. I actually got a killer deal on it on IG. I think I paid like $600 or something for a 6.5. I don't know what they go for now. I picked this one up over the summer. It is often on display behind me in videos. It's not currently right now, as I have X-Men 141 and 142 on display. But this is very prominently displayed when it is right below my HasLab Sentinel, kind of having the two stacked up together. At some point in time, when I get a bigger office, I would have this book always on display with the HasLab Sentinel. Absolutely adore the Sentinels. Classic X-Men book. from the 60s, and a very important X-Men key if you're putting the collection together. Next up, this one still on my list, and this one will be on my list for next year. I've come close on this a couple times this year. X-Men 101, first appearance of Phoenix, iconic cover, iconic character, iconic issue in one of the most popular X-Men runs ever. The Claremont burn run from 98 / Giant Size X-Men 1 all the way up to however long you want to take it. People have different cutoff points. Some stop at 142 right after Days of Future Past through Dark Phoenix. Some go further. My initial goal is the Dark Phoenix run plus this book. Once I knock that out, I want to start filling in the gaps in between. I already have the Giant Size X-Men 1. X-Men 94 is the other big one that I need, which is the second appearance of all those guys. That book has come down quite a bit. Spoilers, that one might be on my list for next year as well. But 101, 100% will be on the list for the beginning of next year. If this book popped up at the right price, I would buy it tomorrow. Just a matter of trying to track one down for where I want to be at, looking at that 9.0 to like 9.4 range. 9.8s are still very expensive for this. And a 9.6 is probably a little more than what I want to get to. So I'd probably be looking for like a 9.2 or 9.4, ideally. The big problem I have with a lot of these, and you notice it on this one here, the wrap. You can see that white line on the left side. It is common on a lot of books. It doesn't hurt the grade, but in my opinion, it hurts the eye appeal. And whatever one I end up getting, I want with a clean wrap. I don't want to see that white line. It'll drive me nuts. My Giant Size X-Men 1 is like that. It's a little bit more common on that book because it's a lot thicker. And it bugs me a little bit. My X-Men 101, whenever I end up getting one, I will make sure that I avoid that. There's been some that have come up for auction that have sold for prices that I'd be willing to pay, but it has that wrap issue, and I've passed on it. So that one still on the list, and that one will definitely be a carryover for next year. Next up, ASM 50 first appearance of Kingpin. Also did not acquire this one for this year. This one may carry over to next year. I do still really want a copy of this book. I love... I never was a big Kingpin guy until the Daredevil show, and then Vincent D'Onofrio just crushed that role on the original Daredevil show on Netflix. And since then, I've just really loved the character, and I've kind of wanted this book. Also, classic Spider-Man cover, probably one of the most iconic Spider-Man covers that there are. I am not like the biggest Spider-Man guy in the world. I am much more ride and die for the X-Men. But that being said, I still really want one of these in the collection. I do have a lot of Spider-Man keys, especially symbiote stuff. And a couple older ones like first appearance of Hobgoblin and some of that stuff. I definitely would like to add one of these at some point in time. This one, probably a good chance it sneaks on to next year's list. Next up, and I believe last on the list, X-Men number 4. First appearance of the Scarlet Witch, Toad, Mastermind, and Quicksilver. First appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Second appearance of Magneto. Absolutely fantastic cover. To me, one of the most important X-Men keys that there is. Part of that is second appearance of Magneto. Another part of that is the first appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which is one of the iconic X-Men villains that they've clashed with over the years. And the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch Quicksilver thing has really taken on a new life with the MCU. I really like Scarlet Witch in the MCU movies. I really enjoyed WandaVision. I thought it was a pretty cool show. So this has kind of leveled up since then. I acquired a 4.5 of this, a very clean looking 4.5. It presents really well at Heroes Con as well, Charlotte Comic Con. That was one that I went in the door specifically looking for. Since it was an older book and I knew I was going to be shooting for a lower grade, I kind of wanted to buy it in person so I could take a pretty good look at it. I ended up paying, I think, $2,200 for my 4.5. They've come down probably about $400 or $500 actually. Right before sitting down to record this video, I saw one pop up on Instagram for $1,800. I think it was. It was either $17.99 or $18.99. So this book has come down a little bit, but I still think it's one of the most important X-Men keys that you could get your hands on for anyone that's a big fan of the X-Men. Like I said, second appearance of Magneto, first Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and then you got the Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver first appearances in there. And I don't think Scarlet Witch is done with the MCU. We're going to see Elizabeth Olsen again at some point in time. So, once again, I didn't go after this book to quick flip it when Elizabeth Olsen shows up in an MCU trailer. I'm a massive fan of the X-Men, and I want to put together a nice, respectable X-Men collection over time. That is one of my biggest goals that I'm kind of always constantly looking at and working on. At one point in time, I'll get an X-Men 1. It'll be super expensive. I don't know if that'll make the list for next year. You have to tune in to find out for that one. So that's my list. Curious for yours. You don't have to list all 10, but was there, going into this year, was there a key, card, comic, a book, whatever collectible, when you went into 2022, was there something that was on your list that you're like, I need to get this year? And did you get it, and what was it? Let me know in the comments down below. And then think about, don't let me know, no spoilers. Think about what you want for 2023. What is the one thing that you're going to be chasing? Hold your thought on that one. And then when I do my preview video for 2023, I'll ask you to fire that one in the comments down below. And once again, if you haven't done something like this, I encourage it. If you don't want to make it 10, don't make it 10. Make it 3, make it 5. But just pick out a couple key things, like what are the things that you're chasing, and then stay focused on that. It's part of the reason why I did this, is it helped me focus on the things that I actually wanted versus getting distracted by things. You know, something would pop up and I'd be like the dog that would be like squirrel. And I'd be like, wait a second. No. You're getting distracted by something. You're getting caught up in the FOMO because this is the new shiny object. Remember why you're here and that these are the things that you really want. And then revisit that list every once in a while and kind of refresh yourself on that. And the list will change. Some things will come on, some things will come off. But I do think it's a very helpful exercise. So that's all I have for you boys and girls today. I think I did a pretty good job. I actually knocked quite a few of these out. I was kind of surprised when I went back and watched this video, how many of these I actually ended up acquiring and knocking off the list as I kind of worked my way throughout the year. And it was also fun revisiting in my mind the different memories of chasing these things and the deals that went down and how I acquired them and where I got them from and all that stuff too. So that's all I got for you guys and girls today. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.